All right. You're gonna learn today.
What's up, YouTube? So today we are going to be changing the wheel bearings on my 2001 Dodge Van B2500. It's going to be getting dark soon, so we got to do this pretty quick. I am going to change the outer, the inner, and the seal for this. Now, to do this job is pretty simple. You're going to use a screwdriver to push the pads back in place. You're going to use a T40, I believe it's a T40, in order to take the caliper loose. I keep a strap here whenever I'm doing this type of work so I can hang it. Never let the caliper hang by the brake hose. You will shorten the life of the hose. So once you get it done, support it with something, coat hanger, anything. And then we're going to take out, I think it's 18 millimeter bolts that'll hold it on the holder. Remove that, and then you'll see how we get to removing the rotor. All right, so let me get this stuff loose and cut you guys back on. Alright, YouTube, so we just removed the rotor. This wheel makes a lot of noise, so I want to check these bearings. I'm replacing both, but I'm curious to know which one actually went bad. I don't know if you guys can see that. You see all the scarring? See, I hope it's focusing, but can you guys see that scar in there? Oh, they're scarred all the way around. Hold on, YouTube, let me clean this up. Yeah, YouTube, this thing is scarred. I mean, it makes noise when I'm driving. So I knew that the bearing was bad. I just didn't know which one it was. And then I was able to pinpoint that it was this wheel. Do you see it? Oh yeah, this is bad. We're going to see what the inner bearing looks like. Now I have a bearing pulling tool, or a seal pulling tool, really what it is. Not a bearing pulling tool. It's like a seal. Let's see if it works here. Work to pull these out. Does the job. Here's the old seal. I don't know. The grease looks old. And here's the bearing. Oh, this bearing looks abused. Hold on, YouTube. We're gonna clean this up. I want to take a look at it too. Because something definitely with the outer. See if any play. This was not as bad as the outer. The outer bearing is scarred like crazy. This one's not too. This one's not bad. It's worn, but it's not as bad. It's not as bad. It's not as bad as the outer. The outer one is another story. So that must have been where the noise was coming from. Alright, YouTube, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to clean up this old grease. I got to grab a few more of these rags. I'm going to clean up the old grease. We're going to put new grease in. We're going to pack the bearings and put the new bearing in with a new seal. Alright, let me put you back on. I forgot to grab some more rags and the other grease. Alright, YouTube, I'm back. Cleaning out. The race appears to still be in good shape. So I'm cleaning out the old grease. Reason why old grease could have dirt in it, could have grit, can have anything in it. So you want to get this nice and clean for the new bearing so you don't get any scarring or anything on the new bearing. So it seems like my problem was just the outer, but we're going to do both, YouTube. We're going to replace the inner. Now again, as I always tell you guys with parts, compare them, your old to your new, your sizes, make sure everything is like it's supposed to be. Now my glove is ripped on this hand, so I'm going to have to pack it on this hand. For those of you that have never packed a bearing before, I'm going to say this is the fun part. It's the messy part. See, right here, you get a nice glob of grease, and you put it in your hand like that. Right? Then you grab the bearing. Now what you're trying to do is pack this grease in this way until you start to see it come out the other side. Right? So it's a little tedious of a process like that, but you keep going. I'm about to take the excess off, put it back in there. It's not packed yet. You got to do it all the way around the bearing. Keep going until all the grease is packed in. Put this back in this pump. And you just keep going, YouTube. Keep going. So you start to see the grease on that side. Keep going. Keep going. This is packing it. If you just take grease and smear it on it, that's not packing your bearings. Your bearings are going to fail prematurely. So what you want to keep doing is keep packing it until it's coming through. Once it comes through, then you know you did a good job. But you got to keep going around. You got to keep walking it around to get it in there. So see how you can start to see grease? Here, it's still a little light over here. So we got to keep packing it. It's a messy job, YouTube. Somebody got to do it. Okay? Alright, YouTube. We're almost there. This is the part, YouTube. I gotta put it on here and then pack it. Hold on. Get off my finger, put it on there, then bring it back and pack it through. That's what you want. Now once you get it in there, I sometimes like to turn it just to make sure it's in there good. Turn it. There you go. Turn it. It's messy, YouTube, but it's necessary. Gotta make sure it's in there. Now with the excess that you have, you can take it and put it on the inside. There. That excess grease on the, that's called the race in there. Put the excess grease on it. If it was scarred, you'd have to replace the race. This one isn't scarred, like I said. This one turned out to be pretty good. The bearing on the back, but we're just doing it for precaution. Get it all in there, YouTube. Okay, now that we got a nice, messy, greasy bearing, take a little bit more. I just want to make sure we're good in here. Take the bearing, drop it down in there, YouTube. Just like that. Ah, that's perfect, YouTube. That's perfect. See that? Nice and greasy. Now, we have to take the old grease from here off the spindle, and the reason why, same reason, this is old grease, may be contaminated, may contain dirt and grime. You don't want this to damage the new bearing. So clean up. It's hard to hold the camera, YouTube, because my hands are nasty. But you want to clean up the grime off the old spindle. Check for any damage, any scarring. If everything is good, let's put a little new grease on there. Get ready to put it back. Alright, YouTube, let me get a fresh pair of gloves. And I'll cut you back on. Alright, YouTube, now that we have put the old bearing in, we've also wiped that down. I'm getting ready to lather some new grease on there, but not yet. Before we do that, we've got to put the new seal in. Now the seal just goes in with some light taps. You can use a hammer, walk it around the edge. Whoops, you got to get it in there and get it flush. And then you'll be good to go. All around, YouTube, till it's nice and flush, which it is. Okay, I'll wipe that off. I want everything clean when it goes up. Now, this is the other part. We have to pack the front bearing, YouTube. But we also have to put grease on the spindle, put this back up, and pack the front bearing. So, the way I'm going to do this, so I'm going to turn this over, clean this out, like that. Same reason, you want to get rid of all the dirty old grease and get rid of the grime. And then we are going to pack the new bearing. Okay, YouTube. Now I'm going to take the excess. I'm going to grease the inside here. Put some grease on that race. Now the thing about it, YouTube, take all this excess off. We're going to put some new grease on the spindle as well. See, the whole point of this is to keep it as quiet as possible. And that's what we're doing. So we drop this in here like that. You want to put a little grease on the spindle. Make everything nice and quiet. Okay, I think we got enough grease. YouTube, I got grease on everything. All right, that's it. It's time to start putting it back together. Cue the music.